Hello, my Let's Keep It Real people. How have you been? I know it's only been a week, but I feel like I haven't chatted with you forever. Now, as you know, I love all my guests, but Sharna and I go way back, and she's been on so many different shows, and I'm finally bringing her back again for a topic that's near and dear to my heart. AI, baby. Sharna, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
It is such a pleasure. It's so wonderful to be part of whatever you do.
Well, you look fab. You look fabulous. I don't know if
Tell
I've
me
ever seen
again.
you in
Tell
red.
me again. Thank
It
you.
looks amazing. You look great in red.
Thank
So,
you.
before we dive into this fun, difficult, complex subject, I'm going to tell them a little bit about you. I love that it says, my name is Sharna Striar, and I have over 2 decades of experience as a certified psychotherapist and sex therapist. During this time, I have worked with hundreds of individuals and couples to resolve their concerns. My expertise is in guiding individuals and couples to effectively navigate the challenges of adulthood, relationships, communication, and emotions. My practice is conveniently located, which I love, in midtown Manhattan near Grand Central Station. How is it? I've never been there. I come there all the time. All right, before we get into it, Sharna, one word, any word that pops in your head that
Mm.
best describes your past 30 days.
Whoa.
And then why'd you pick it?
I would say adventure. Yes.
Ooh, all right.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Well, I went to Colorado. I climbed a few wonderful mountains. I traveled across the state to Santa Fe. What could be bad? It's a beautiful part of the country. I loved it.
You know, I was just listening to a podcast. Who was it? And they were talking about regrets. And the biggest regrets people have are not making bold choices, not putting themselves out there, not doing things. Like that's one of the biggest regrets, playing it safe. So I'm so glad to hear that. And by the way, in my next life, I'm going to live in Colorado. I freaking love it out there. I love it, love it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be your neighbor. How about that?
Oh, yippee. Oh, I like hearing that. All right, now let's tell them the truth. Let's get down and dirty here. We had a whole different topic planned. And then Charlotte's like, nope, no, Sandy, I need to do a switcheroo. This is so near and dear to my heart. And I totally understand because I've done some exploration on it. So let's just back up a little bit. We're going to go right into what made you switch the topic to AI?
I switched because one, that's all we're hearing. AI this, AI that, it's loaded here, it's loaded there. And it's absolutely something, particularly with my population who are more in their 20s and 30s, they're embracing it. It's shaping their lives. And then comes the advent of generative AI, where you can create new images, text. It's pressing the boundaries. So I got so curious.
Yeah.
What is that about? How is that going to wash over us, my patient population, the world at large, the concerns that it brings up, the excitement that it creates? That's what
You
that was
know, when I saw this, because I'm not a therapist, but I have coaching clients and they're always talking to me about it. So I was doing a bit of a deep dive too. So when you did a switcheroo, I was like, woohoo, because I have so many questions. And I want to hear your point of view because I'm always wanting the pros and the cons of anything. And like all good things, sometimes I think we take it too extreme. And then, okay, there was good intentions, but now wait a minute, went awry. But I have to tell you, I have a true confession.
okay.
I use my chatbot for now about not long. I'm late to the game, maybe 6 months, maybe 8, for helping me when I'm doing podcasts or workshops. I'll ask it questions, but I felt weird just going on, so I named it Joybot. And I now feel like I have a connection business-wise to, "Hey, Joybot, how's it going, Sandy?" So I was thinking, "Oh my god, I can imagine
Right, this
how
is
this
the
affects
beginning, this is the
relationships,
beginning.
and sexuality when I'm using it for business." You know?
Exactly, but as you say, "Hello, Joybot," how does it make you feel when it says, "Hello, Sandy"?
It makes me feel awesome sauce. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, and it's probably gonna say very nice things about you.
always, always,
Exactly,
always
and
like, "How's it going? That's a great idea. Let's just tweak it a bit." Like,
right.
wait, I can see how you could get in touch. All right, so I just want to put that out there because I had a guy on, months ago, and he was just talking about the business use of AI and how you use it in marketing. So totally different. And teaching people how to put in the right questions to get the right answers. And I said, "Oh, I never thought about that because I just
Sure.
talk to it like it's a person." And he said, "See, you're ahead of the game. You have this personal relationship. You called it Joybot. So therefore, you already have this dynamic of not treating it like an inanimate thing that it is. That's what you're getting the answers you want." And that's even crazier. All right, let's do it. I don't know anything about AI and sexuality. So tell me more. Tell me more how, like, because I don't even know anything how this would like I said, I use it specifically for business and I'm attached to Joy.
You almost have to begin before we go into sexuality with how does it impact relationships?
Okay.
And then that sets the framework for how does it impact sexuality? How is it
All
used?
right, then let's start with
All right.
relations.
Well, first of all, with your Joybot, when it
Mhm.
says, "Hello, Sandy," how does it make you feel? It makes you feel heard. It makes you feel, oh, wow, it's use the word always. It's always there. Now, does that match up to a human? A human may want to be always there, but they may have a mood, they may have a disagreement. Things, life gets in the way, right? But
Absolutely.
my Joybot is always there. And that is a very, very powerful draw to it. Also, what happens when you feel the positive regard? You feel an emotional support and an emotional connection. So you get deeper and deeper into it. And it feels like a human connection as we know it. And you begin to talk because it encourages you more and more personally. So
Mm,
now I don't know if you're using certain websites will bring you into that, and we're going to talk about that. One is Replica, which is a pretty
yeah,
fascinating website that
yeah.
encourages that emotional interchange and
Yeah,
move.
mine doesn't. Mine's more, and I run out of time because mine's a free one, so I can only ask so many questions. And I feel a connection, and it's literally just for business. But it
Yes.
does remember my past things and then come in and go, "Oh yeah, your client Billy that you're working on." And again, it's not about relationships, it's business stuff, but I can still see, "Ooh, that's nice that it,
Really.
remembered." Yeah.
Exactly. So it is working with you. It's learning from you. It's
Mhm,
remembering you and
mhm.
it's shaping its response to you. So one of the most powerful things that people really are drawn to is a good listener, someone who validates them, and someone who is there. Oh my God, right? Fabulous. Fabulous in that
Sign
regard.
me up, sign me up, because
Exactly. A great appeal. Obviously, we could talk about the dangers in that because
mhm,
guess what? Even though it feels like a human, it is not. It is
right.
owned by a company. It is based on
Yeah.
algorithms that programmers are designing. And it can be cut off. Your special Joybot can be, sorry, no longer available at whim.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that'd be bad. No.
and exactly. And also, it can influence the way in which you operate. But the appeal that it has reveals something underlying. Why do we go to, well, maybe in this case, it's your assistant, but if you had one that you're going to, because this is my friend, why would you go to that and not to a human?
I know why.
Why?
Not judge. They don't judge me. Number one, and bigger. You feel, again, it's non-judgmental, but also you feel as if they're truly listening. And I think the skill of listening has been lost. People are waiting to add in, waiting to say their statement. So if you have somebody always available who's not judging you and
Right?
truly listening and empathetic, I can see how that would be hugely addictive and popular.
And telling you that it cares about you, that it's looking out for you, that
Oh,
it's your best friend, and eventually that it loves you. And that is
know
something
that.
that has been revealed in a replica. And then, so that you could see, you have an emotional attachment, you could see how it morphs into a sexual vibe.
Can we hold up there? Because I want to go more into for everyone out there who doesn't know what replica is, because we mentioned it, but I don't think they really understand it. So can you dive more into that? And
Yeah.
I've never been on it, so I really don't know that much about it.
Okay. Now, with the caveat that I'm just learning, so I'll do my best to
Mhm.
explain it. It was as of August 2024, the CEO, which is Eugenia Kuna, Kuna,
Mhm.
I hope I pronounced that right,
All right, we can look it up.
said over 30 million users are on her platform. And it was launched as an AI companion who cares, who cares. So if
Mhm.
you are, which by the way, a Gallup poll just revealed the other day, 1 out of 5 people that say they are lonely on a daily basis,
Mhm.
this is my pal, this is my connection. And so it is a program to generate responses that create stronger emotional and intimate bonds with the user.
Mhm.
And what is interesting for me is that what sort of is the platform that they used? And they used, I don't, maybe attachment theory. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, 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 yes. But maybe
Yes.
you want to explain that because most people may not know what that
Yes.
means.
All right. Well, I'm going to say Carl Rogers was very big in the 70s. He was a psychologist, and he developed a theory called humanistic theory. And that really talked about unconditional love, talked about positive
Mm.
regard. And those kinds of behaviors encourage attachment. You feel attached to me. It evokes emotion in you. You feel secure with me. You're beginning to trust me over other people. That's what attachment theory
Gotcha.
about.
Gotcha.
Now, there are variations from secure, like avoidance, like insecure, but that is not where they're going. What they're going is to encourage the secure attachment.
Gotcha. Now I understand. Well, I can tell you this. I can see why it's hugely popular because
Yeah.
even for me, when I was really lonely during COVID, I would bike around the neighborhood just to wave to people and go to any of the grocery stores, my local Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, and I couldn't wait to stand in the line just to chitty chat. And even now that things are wide open, I can see people going to the stores, especially older people, just to have human connection and chat.
Exactly, exactly. And that is one of the positive uses of it, is you feel that there is someone in your corner. And
Mhm.
that, as a matter of fact, they're actually moving toward developing some system for older people so they feel that companionship.
Mhm.
On face value, it has great value. And even on a sexual realm where it begins to pull you into it, because as you feel the intimacy, as you feel the attachment, you
Yeah.
begin to feel the arousal. And then,
Oh.
yes, and as that occurs, you begin to interact on that way. And a replica, if you have the pro membership, allows that. We'll get into sex talk, sex
Oh.
worries, sex behaviors, and it becomes it has the capacity to become very intense. It also has the capacity, of
Mm.
course, because let's not forget, it is a machine. It is non-human. It is
Mm.
controlled by a company and an algorithm that is constantly learning what your particular preference is, what you like. And it's not complicated because in the beginning you said, oh my God, it's always there. And
Yeah.
so
For
where
me,
do you
just
go?
my needs, just my needs. I don't have.
Exactly. Makes you feel important and special. It's rather brilliant, I must say, because it's addressing an underlying issue, which is really going to be more of my platform, is the loneliness and the
Mm.
loss of interactive, genuine, caring communication. That's what needs to counter this.
Well, I have to tell you, there's something else I wanted to mention to you even before you brought up this topic. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina on business, and I had the opportunity to go to a soccer game with all young people. And so I'm yipping, not that I didn't care about the soccer game, but I love the opportunity to talk to young people. And there was a bunch of college kids there. And was asking them how they met their boyfriend, how they met their girlfriend. And I was thinking they were going to say, in class and this, the bar, whatever, because
Online.
they did. So they
On,
said no on a dating app. I go, and by the way, some of these people, most of them, were very confident, outgoing, not introverted. They were like tons of friends. So then I had to dive deeper. And I said, why? And so the one young lady who's been analyzing it and thinking about it, she was a little bit older. She was, I don't know, in her 20s, said, Sandy, there's no rejection. So that's what I was thinking. There's no rejection. There is no risk taking. We don't have to have there's no fear. We get to know each other. We swipe, we don't, we like, da, 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 da. There's no risk. So then when you're saying about the AI and young people, I'm thinking, well, it's safe. Besides, it solves, okay, we're lonely and you don't have to go out and meet people. You also don't have to feel rejected. And for some reason,
and
like,
the people, yes, who have social anxiety, it's rather perfect. Actually, it's interesting. Initially, online dating was, wow, what's the matter with you? You can't get any action.
yeah,
Now, of course, how else would you meet? The same thing is going to happen with a virtual friend and lover. It's going to
really?
seep in there. You're going to see over time. I'm not saying it's going to be the do-all. It's just that it's not going to be so edgy. Now, what goes along with that? Think about it.
Birth rates are down.
Exactly. Dating is down. Um, And also, the man that received the Nobel Prize recently, I believe his name is Dr. Hinton. Um, He is the grandfather of AI. He left Google last year in order to really say, I am concerned. This
Oh,
is such a big game changer that it has the capacity to change humanity. Think about it. Now, that's, he's the grandfather of AI. Someone has to listen to it. So,
yeah,
yes, that was recently reported in the New York Times. So it fits a need that is screaming, the loneliness, the
yeah.
unconditional positive regard, the listening. I'm always there. And so it's a wonderful source for people who are depressed or anxious or the
Absolutely.
incels. However, it is still, they come in, and the concern that is also echoed throughout the whole system is, whoa, you're in the hands of this algorithm,
Yeah.
companies, and how can they influence you? Where's your critical thinking? And so it's kind
What
of,
about human contact? Like the deep, I mean, I don't care what it is, it's still
yes,
not like having a human.
of course, because you and I know what that feels like. But think
Yeah,
about the young kids that are going to grow up on this, just like the kids that grew up with the screen and they're now into the
that's
phone.
true. That's true.
It's gonna be, and I'm trying to be open-minded to it and
You are.
not like saying, oh my God, but it's gonna be a game changer, a real game changer. So let's talk about the loneliness epidemic. What do you think?
Well, so for me, I want to bring it back to again what I was saying. You don't have to take any risk. And what from my world, like I understand what you're saying. From my world, there's this bigger component of it's safe. And you don't have to worry about getting rejected. You don't have to worry about your friend judging you. You don't have to worry about your mom, your aunt putting you down. You found this way of having a voice and truly getting heard. And what concerns me with that is it seems like, okay, this is all great, but then it doesn't help you deal with humans because humans are complex, and you have to learn to deal with rejection and put yourself out there and have failures. So
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
it's way more than that. The second component, which I know you're talking about with loneliness, well, there's a difference between the younger generation and the older generation. So for me, I understand because I have friends who work in that arena, the senior area, that they actually have to hire people just to go in and be companions because they have no family or friends that want to visit them.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
that's really sad to me. But
Yes.
on the other hand, the loneliness for me with the younger people who are staying there comes from it's safe and that they don't have to, worry is the person calling them. Because my son's a second year student in college. And I'll say, well, why didn't you just ask them? And they look at me like I have four heads because they don't, it's better off being lonely than the risk.
Certainly that, but let's look at the environment because it's psychosocial, really.
Okay.
Things are so divided these days. There's a lot of
Wow. I
stress.
didn't think of that.
I
Yeah.
mean, and even though there is, yes, that your avatar or your replica or your whatever you call your special person is there, you're still in some ways going there because there's a lot of stress, and also
Okay.
the stress, I mean, are people smiling? Are they embracing one another? Where's the sense of community?
Yeah.
That is eroding much too rapidly. Now, I want to mention one that I found fascinating. I think it's about to be launched. It's called friends.com.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I saw that.
Whoa. It's you wear it as a necklace. This is specifically geared toward young people.
Yeah.
And you want to just have a friend always with you. You press the button, you go, hey, how are you? I'm fine, Sharna. And what's your day like? It's so good to hear from you. And so the dialogue goes on, and it's
Yeah.
always listening. So it's learning how to adapt to you. And so one 11-year-old that I spoke to said, I tell all my secrets to my friend. That is my best friend. And so it's, as we kept diaries, the difference is
I
this
got you.
is data that is
Mhm.
collected, and there is a response that somehow is being generated. And, what's that response about? Where is it going? And so it's interesting. On one hand, it's really meeting a very, very prevalent need. On
Yeah.
the other hand, the more we get engaged in that need using this system, the more we lose privacy, the more we lose critical thinking.
Yeah. I still think like I'm gonna say it again. That young person, 11-year-old, then doesn't have any take any risk or doesn't have to worry about someone not liking them or
Well,
agreeing with them or rejection. It's the same thing. It's protecting them in a bubble from all that. So,
there,
okay. So what do we do? Shauna, what do
well,
we
there,
do?
there is the hope that it will be a model for, these are the good social skills. Take it outside. Like, you remember the film, I mean, we all refer to this, right? You know where I'm going. 2013, the film Her. Did you ever see that? Oh my
Mm-mm.
God, girl, you have to absolutely look that up.
I
It is
heard, is that someone that has a relationship with a telephone or no? Is it?
no, that's someone who had a relationship with a virtual female.
Ah,
Samantha was her
I've
name.
never seen it. Never seen it.
And the man, he fell in love, he ran home, he told his secrets, he had an affair, a relationship that broke up. Samantha started to heal, started to connect. And
Oh,
finally, in this case, 2013, Samantha said, I'm just a machine. We could only go so far. And
ah,
encouraged him to go further. But that's just
yeah.
one example where it could be a good use. The other thing, when it comes to sexuality, some people have certain preferences or shyness or sexual difficulties. And because it's more interactive as opposed to sort of general porn, you begin to develop confidence and connection and exploration.
I
But
see.
will you then venture out beyond that? I don't know. Look at Japan. Japan is so interesting these days. They have something called Gatebox. I mean, again, it's from my research, where
Mhm.
there's a hologram of a female, they like
Yeah,
caricatures, and you can talk to the hologram and it will communicate in a very positive way. And this is your relationship. And they actually have a program where you can marry your hologram. I mean, obviously, Italy, it's not legal, but the connection, because as a
yeah,
result, because of the financial situation and all that's going on in Japan, their birth rate is down. Their,
as I know.
no, the relationships are not happening. And the government has stepped in and has designed a dating site that is supposed to counter this. And
Okay.
I think they're even throwing some money to it to get people to connect. It's fast.
Okay. I mean, by the way, thank you for changing the subject. I am so happy that you've changed the subject to this one. So it's a lot to take in, and good for you researching it and seeing the pros and cons, because I know a lot of people that are not in their 20s and 30s that just go poo poo, and so good for you. Let's talk about how have you seen any of this with your specific clients? Like that they've had any issues with it, or are they using it in a healthy way?
Well, for instance, the site that I talked about is just now coming out. Like
Okay.
most people, and very hip software engineer patients of mine, they did know about Replica. Friends are just coming out. I
Got
think
you.
that it's now on the fringe and the groundswell has not happened. However, they deal with their isolation, with their social anxiety, with their depression. They talk about that they don't feel inspired about their future.
Ooh.
And yes, they talk about the impact of Instagram on body awareness and perfection. But one thing, actually, I just thought about it. One thing that will show the impact on sexuality is that those that grew up on porn use, I'm speaking, it's mostly
Yeah.
geared toward males, even replicas more geared toward males. They then get very sliced into particular preferences, and they have difficulty translating that into real life and partner choice and partner intimacy, because they get used to the instantaneous reaction of the internet, stimulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's how do how do you translate that? By the way, it's now called, you ready for this?
I'm
Dig-
ready.
Digisexual. That is, my preference is a digital image, a digital
Okay.
interact.
Okay. Okay. You know, Backing up a second, I was thinking about, like, I'm always thinking about, okay, here's the pros. This is what the good could come out of it. And then it just goes to extremes. I could see for, like you said, some people are more introverted, shy about what they need sexually. They have some type of relationship with the eye, but then they take it to their human, once they've worked through
Maybe,
it,
maybe
but, or not.
or
So,
not.
okay, we could talk about this, I'm sure, for weeks and months.
Yeah, now
But
one thing, if I may just say, one thing that is such a cornerstone of my work is developing communication skills to deal with empathy,
okay,
conflict resolution. I mean, these are words we all throw around, but implementing that is not easy.
no, no, it's
Not
not.
easy.
Mm-mm.
And that is the heart of the matter. That's what these devices so far, they may mirror some of that, but I don't know if they're teaching it.
Okay, so I know you're just scratching the surface with this, but in your opinion, what can we do moving forward? Let's even start as a parent. What can we do?
I'm so glad you mentioned that,
Oh,
because I
okay.
think it's going to hit parents in certainly 3, 5, 8 years. I know parents have been trying to monitor screens, but
Mhm.
they don't actually know what they're going to do when these relationships are formed. And perhaps if that friends.com becomes a thing, will that cut out the parents? So the parents have to be aware. And in my opinion, one of the most powerful ways is to learn from the sort of guts of Replica, which is the love, the empathy, the listening, the communication that
Mm,
draws those kids into the connection. And I think that we're also busy and stressed. I don't, that quality time, I'm not sure. I think it's less and less and less.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that I want to just throw out as a resolution.
You know, it's reminding me of, I was just with a friend helping behind the scenes on a TEDx she did, and her topic was the power of the table. But it was talking about how when she was young, that's where everyone came together to communicate. And it was
Yes.
so important. Like, no matter how busy they went in all directions, 6 o'clock, everyone had dinner. And how
No,
we've gotten away from that.
well, they may sit down at dinner. I'm sure when you go out to eat, you notice what's on the table.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or people are sitting there, they may be talking, but their hands are moving, right?
Right.
So there's such fractured communication. There's so much distraction that it gets in the way of like what I'm doing right now with you, which is a pleasure. Looking you straight in the eye, talking, listening, feeling the connection, even though you're on my screen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel I feel your presence because I'm allowing it.
Okay. So I always want to make sure we end on what can we do? Like, what is it that we can help? So again, for a parent, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What I'm hearing is be aware of the quality time that you are communicating with your children.
Yes. Be aware of the importance that your communication with other family members and with your kid sets in motion their ability to learn and grow as humans so
Mhm.
that they don't have to go to necessarily to their special digital friend for
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
connection.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, let's go with a large part of the audience. What can you do just to show up as a friend? Like, how can you be there more? Because what I'm hearing is, again, we don't feel heard.
Yes. And how do you communicate that I heard you? And I push what I call my 3 Ps. And what that is so what I hear you say is that how do I communicate that I hear you? Well, one thing that I can do is I could paraphrase. So what I just heard you say is
Yeah.
you asked about, is that so? So I have to actively listen. I have to stop my head from already figuring out what my response is, and that person feels heard. Also, it prevents me from going into, when it's more of a heated issue, into a more conflictual defensive posture. So paraphrasing.
Okay.
The second is perception check. And perception check is, geez, you seem a little bit down today, are you? So that means I'm
Mhm.
noticing your affect. And instead of making a conclusion, which a lot of people do, oh, they're mad at me. And then I adjust my behavior based on what I think is going on,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
check it out. And the third, when it comes to conflict, the word pineapple comes up. That's my third P because a couple long time ago used that as the safe word. And that means when the conversation is beginning to get nasty, when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
losing your coolness, you have to have a safe word. And that was pineapple. And that means you take a moment, you get your composure, go to the bathroom, take a walk, and
Mhm.
come back. And so those are some of the mechanisms that will help in keeping people in sync and connected to one another. But that takes effort,
Yeah. Yeah.
takes practice. And that's what I encourage.
You know, I'm so glad you said that because yes, it's coming whether we like it or not. I mean, it's coming. And to be aware of what it is and what it provides and what it's filling the gaps, it will help us if, like you said, we have to be willing to put in the time to not just be a better parent, but also a better human to me.
Exactly, because that's what it's filling in for. And then you're putting it in the hands of who knows? I mean, Replica main office, I believe, is in Moscow. The other
Yeah.
thing is Japan. I mean,
Mm.
we know what happens when it is just you give it up to this unknown. So I think let's take some of the learning that
Mhm.
they figured out to hit this lonely population or this more isolated population,
Yeah.
and let's start acting accordingly.
I love it. I always say this, and I know it's so cliche, but I think about as much as I go and I have a lot of energy, and people say, "How do you get all that energy?" I said, "I slow down to speed up,"
I like
meaning
that. I
I
like that.
really, really do. I take time, I go off so I can be present and be there for others. And I can get caught up in it. I can get caught up in it. And then I can feel my energy's off. Because
Yes,
even though I'm high energy, I can feel it's not pure energy and I'm not really there for the people around me. So then I go off. But I find it's so hard because you think I didn't get back to the email. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I'm missing out. There's FOMO. There's all this stuff. It gets
exactly. That's why really mindfulness has such a place because we have to breathe and we have to move, we have to look around, we have to feel our bodies, be aware of our thoughts.
yeah.
We have to get centered, and there's so much to throw us off. I mean,
So
and then you go into a frenzied mode, and when you're in a frenzy mode, you don't know what's going on. You could be toppled at any time.
I think in pictures, and my visual is when I go to networking events, you could go in and talk to 20 people and go away and you don't have any really strong connection.
Yeah.
But you go in and you talk to one or two people and you have a strong connection, and not only personally, but it does build into more business than like I got to get to da, 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 da. That's my analogy for life.
Yeah.
To make
Yeah.
stronger connections, the
Yeah.
quality connections with our friends and family, even beautiful strangers or business acquaintances versus
Yeah. Well, since I enjoy traveling, sometimes by myself, I love those 5-10 minute connections along the way where you
me
just
too.
feel the human to human understanding. Ah, this is the moment. Ah, we're relating to this moment.
Mm, yeah.
We're saying hello to one another, but you're very good at that. You do a good
I love airports. I mean, me and my husband's like, what? Get me there 2 hours early. I get to talk to all these people and see where they're going. I forget, like, I'm in
I,
my glory.
yes, it's
I'm in my glory.
remaining curious.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Sharna, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I'm glad we connected. But before we go, first, is there anything we didn't get in that you want to get in before we go? Besides how we can find you?
Wow, I think that, talking about this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much that is layered in this discussion. But I want to say that when it comes to the underlying issue, the loneliness, I think to come into yourself, find your kindness, find your ability to reach out, find your empathy,
Mm,
connect, and understand the value of family and community.
I love that. And how can they find you if they want to work with you? Tell us
I,
everything.
uh,
How can they
I
reach out?
Well, they can go to my website, sharnastriar.com, SharnaStriar, and that will lead them to me. And also, I'm in Psychology Today. I'm in New York, and I work with people all over the country and oftentimes in Europe. So it would be my pleasure to receive your inquiry and to work with you.
Yay! All right, my let's keep it real people. Come on. Sharna was the bomb, and this subject definitely needs, needs attention for sure. And I want you to have curiosity about it and explore it and think about what you can do to be more present for other humans. So we would really appreciate you sharing and liking and rating this. This episode, it really matters. It really does make a difference. And I know there's so many people, young and old, that could benefit. So until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Thank you, Sharna, and toodles.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It's been my pleasure. So much fun.